All right, what's up, everybody? I hope everybody had a wonderful Valentine's Day yesterday. It is pushing the limits. Thank you so much for joining us. You might be listening on the FMAM dial. You might be listening on social media, TikTok, X, of course, the Occupy Democrats Network as well. We ask that you click that subscribe button. It's $5 a month, a cup of coffee, and you're supporting what we do here. Yesterday, when I was broadcasting, doing the show yesterday, we talked about a lot of different topics, and I didn't think that I'd have to be covering breaking news of another shooting, this time at a Kansas City Chiefs parade. We're learning more information about that, and I'm going to dive into it. I'm going to talk to you guys about it. Every mass shooting hits home to me. One of my dear friends was shot in the back in the October 1 shooting in Las Vegas. And Fred Gutenberg, if you don't know who Fred Gutenberg is, he is a wonderful man, a gun safety advocate, of course, losing his daughter in the Parkland shooting. And yesterday, on Valentine's Day, the anniversary of Parkland, Fred went to his daughter's gravesite, which no parent should ever have to do. And he said as he was driving home and got home, he saw the news of this shooting that took place at this Kansas City Chiefs parade where these kids, these children, families were going there to celebrate. Going there to celebrate the win of the Kansas City Chiefs, going there to have a good time and have fun and celebrate with other fans. And it ended in chaos. And it ended in an innocent woman losing her life, a beloved DJ in town who lost her life. Her name is Lisa Lopez, Kansas City area DJ, who died due to the shooting. And I've gotten some pretty remarkably ignorant text messages from people that I know. Brian, this doesn't fit your narrative. This shooting doesn't fit your narrative. Some people on social media saying these were black people that did this, as if that makes this shooting better or worse. Well, let me tell you something, you ignorant fools. You want to know what my narrative is? I don't care the color of one's skin who committed the crime. You know what I care about? I don't want innocent people killed and shot. I don't want to live in a country where you drop off your kids at school, you don't know if they're going to make it home. I don't want to live in a country where you go celebrate your team winning the Super Bowl and some people never make it home again. I don't want to live in a country where you go to the mall or you just go to a sporting event or a concert or wherever worried about if you're going to be shot. My narrative is I don't want innocent people to die. My narrative is we need to do something about gun control in this country, and it doesn't matter whether it was gang-related or juveniles committed these crimes or whether it was a 70-year-old man who committed the crime, black, white, yellow, purple, orange. I don't care. We have a gun problem in this country. Oh, but Brian, these were bad people getting their hands on guns. Doesn't matter. We have a gun problem in this country. How many times do I need to say it? We are a country that is obsessed with our guns. We have more guns than people in this country. There's not one law that's going to lower all the gun violence. There's not one law that's going to change everything. But there are things we can do as a country to make us safer. And there are too many people in this country that care more about the power that they are in and an A-plus rating from the NRA than doing the right thing and helping to keep us safe in this country. That's my narrative. It doesn't matter what the color of one's skin was that committed the crime. I don't care what their sexuality is. I don't want innocent people to die or be shot. Of the 22 people that were injured yesterday, half of them were kids. You should be angry. I'm angry. That's my narrative. So don't you be giving me this bull crap that the media has this narrative, and because they were black kids that allegedly committed these crimes, oh, the media doesn't like that. Let me tell you something. Most of the networks that I watch, the narrative is we need to do something about gun control. Doesn't matter the color of one's skin. It doesn't matter whether it was gang-related in Chicago or if it was a shooting in Kansas City or our kids being mowed down in our classrooms. Gun violence is gun violence. And we didn't have this problem at these levels when I was growing up as a kid. We didn't run these drills that they do now where curl up underneath a desk if there's an active shooter situation. We didn't have that. Why do we have it now? And why don't so many people on the far right want to talk about it? Including the governor there in Missouri, who is a disgrace. He is a disgrace, and he is a coward. He is a gun lover. That's right, I'm talking about Governor Mike Parsons, who was seen running scared for his life from the shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs parade, where over 15 people, now 22 we're learning, shot, including children. He was running so fast, flanked by law enforcement officials, he could have easily been mistaken for a Missouri resident, senator running for his life, his name, Josh Hawley, another despicable human being. Now, once he was safe and secure, the gun-loving governor, he was escorted from the danger zone by law enforcement, and he announced that he and the First Lady were safe, unlike millions of Americans who are at a daily risk from this random gun violence every single day. Why am I bringing up the governor, the gun-loving nut? Because he signed into law last August a provision that would nullify federal gun laws in the state. There were over 1 million people there that day, all allowed to carry guns. There were 800 police officers serving and protecting, but they couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop these 3 alleged criminals from shooting and in turn killing at least one innocent woman and shooting a bunch of kids. No, the good guys with guns didn't win, did they? I'm glad that there are heroes out there, and we'll get to that stopped the shooter or shooters. This is what it sounded like if you were at the Kansas City Chiefs parade, the end of the parade, celebrating with your friends, celebrating with your family. This is what it sounded like the moment gunshots rang out. And to the ignorant people out there, and there are plenty of you out there that will say, oh, Brian, you're a propagandist. What the hell have I said in this show specifically that would lead you to believe that I'm a propagandist or I'm being paid by the DNC? When I say over and over again with passion, I don't want innocent people to be shot. I don't want innocent people to die. What part of propaganda is that when I speak the truth to you morons out there who want to get in the weeds with me about what an assault weapon is, but then when I ask you, what are your solutions? Oh, I don't know. Mental health. You have no solutions. But I'm the propagandist. When some of you morons out there say more guns make us safer, you're the propagandist. The cowards in Washington, D.C. on the far right who do nothing. All they care about is remaining in power. That's all they care about. They want their A-plus rating from the NRA, and they put that ahead of the security and the safety of our children. Brian, what are you talking about it? On the night of the Uvalde shooting, Governor Abbott was counting his money at a campaign rally when they didn't even count all the bodies of those innocent children that were massacred. Those are the kind of people that I'm talking about. Those are the kind of people that have blood on their hands, and there's not a shred of propaganda in what I am saying. Do I sound angry? You bet, because I am. And I'm tired of this. I'm tired of our politicians, particularly those on the far right in D.C., that will do nothing. They won't act. It's thoughts and prayers every day. And the governor of Missouri is a perfect example. And we lost this woman, Lisa Lopez, a mother of 2, a beloved disc jockey in Kansas City. She was shot to death. She was going there with her family to enjoy the parade, and now she's dead. There were some heroes that day, yesterday. And the story of a young man, a Kansas City Chiefs fan, who is a hero and will always be a hero, who jumped on top of one of the shooters before police came and arrested him. And this is a story that needs to be told because this man should be honored for what he did.
One guy was hollering, saying, stop him, or catch him, tackle him, whatever. And he's just bailing, running. And out of nowhere, I heard that guy hollering, so I'm just like, okay, well, I'm right here. And I didn't even think about it. It just a reaction. I didn't hesitate. It was just do it. So I went to go tackle him, and another gentleman did the same thing. And as I'm tackling him, I see his weapon either fall out of his hand or out of his sleeve because he was wearing a long jacket or like a Carhartt. So when I seen that hit the ground, I'm like, oh, we got to take this guy down. And so, like I said, I did, and another good Samaritan did, and we held him down. And it seemed like forever, but it probably wasn't. It was like 30 seconds holding him down, and me and the other gentleman are hollering at ongoers, where's the cops? Get the cops over here, get the cops over here, we got him.
Unbelievable hero, unbelievable story. I've requested to get him on the show, and we'll probably get him on the show next week. Incredible. Put up a GoFundMe page for that man, and pay that man millions of dollars. He deserves it because he saved so many lives. What a good Samaritan. But there were 800 cops there. Not saying they did anything wrong, but there were 800 cops there armed. Open carry. Anybody could have had a gun there. People still died. Kids were shot. We have a gun infatuation problem in this country, and that is not propaganda. That is a fact. We have more guns than people, 140 guns per 100 people. The police chief, Stacey Graves, also, in her first press conference yesterday after the shooting, had this to say.
I'm angry at what happened today. The people who came to this celebration should expect a safe environment. We had over 800 law enforcement officers, Kansas City and other agencies, at the location to keep everyone safe. Because of bad actors, which were very few, this tragedy occurred, even in the presence of uniformed law enforcement officers who, again, ran towards them and took them into custody. To the people who were injured in this tragedy, our hearts go out to you and your families.
Amen. But here's something that she didn't say that you'll probably hear a lot of on conservative right-wing talk radio today and TV. They will focus on the fact that the shooters were black, and somehow that makes it different, and it doesn't fit a media narrative, and the media is not going to be talking about it because the shooters were juveniles and they were black. In fact, some hosts calling them thugs. The people who committed those heinous crimes yesterday, I hope they go to jail for their entire life. I hope they are not tried as juveniles. And my understanding is 2 of the 3 that were arrested are juveniles. They should be tried as adults. And if you had my take on this, give them the death penalty. That's my personal opinion. And that's not some media narrative that the media is not going to be covering this story because the shooters were black. I don't care what the color of their skin was. Now, if you gave me a manifesto of somebody that happened to be black saying, I want to kill a bunch of white people, then that would be relevant, right? We saw that in the Texas El Paso shooting where you had a white shooter who in the manifesto said he wanted to kill brown people. That's relevant. But in this case, it doesn't appear that that's the case because what we've been learning in this shooting is apparently what police are saying is that this was a dispute between several people, and it wasn't a hate crime. It was a bunch of criminals, several of them, that took out weapons and started shooting, a dispute between them. That doesn't make it any better or worse, but there is no narrative here or a narrative of skin color being a factor in one way, shape, or form. But if you listen to right-wing conservative talk radio, they are going to make it a point to talk about how, oh, look, the shooters were black. They're thugs. But what they don't want to talk about is the real problem, which is gun violence and how people are obsessed with their guns in this country. Vice President Kamala Harris, while it might be a little bit difficult to hear because she was right near a chopper that she went on before, she did make these statements after the shooting, which I agree with her 150%, and I agree with the messaging. Here's what the Vice President had to say.
Today was supposed to be a day of celebration for a community of people to come together and feel a sense of joy. And yet it is another day where America has experienced senseless gun violence. You know, gun violence is the number one cause of death for the children of America. Not some form of illness or car accidents, gun violence. And the reality of it is a lot of this can be prevented if members of legislators, including the United States Congress, just have the courage to act with reasonable gun safety laws. And I think it's incredibly important for everyone to understand it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. And of course, Doug and I and all of us, I know our prayers are with the families who have been so horribly affected, with the community that has been so horribly affected.
And for people out there that say, and it's a very ignorant statement and very complicit to say that we don't have a gun problem in this country, that we have a people problem, you're a complete idiot. Here's why. There are mentally ill people and deranged, violent people all over the world. So why do we have so much gun violence in this country? Ask yourself that question. And if you're even semi-intelligent with an IQ over 20, you come to the same conclusion that I would come up with, which is we have way too many guns in this country. We have more guns in this country than just about any other country in the world. Why do we have more gun violence in this country than just about any other country in the world? You just see that being a coincidence? Oh, Brian, we just have a lot of bad people in the United States of America. No, we have too many guns. We are obsessed with our guns. We have too much of an easy access to assault weapons. Now, there's a lot of things we can do to fix it, but to say that this isn't a gun problem makes you a moron, and you are part of the problem. Oh, Brian, if you think there's too many guns in this country, then go somewhere else. Why don't you tell that to the family members that are praying right now with their kids in intensive care in the hospital that were shot while they were celebrating the Kansas City Chiefs winning a Super Bowl? You heartless pigs, you. Why don't you go tell that to the families of Uvalde and the families of any victim of gun violence in this country? Oh, if you think that we have a gun problem here, then why don't you live somewhere else? You heartless pigs. I want you out of the country. Not them. I want you out of the country. If you have no empathy and you're heartless and you're ignorant, obsessed with your guns, because that's more important to you, right? Hunting a deer with an AR-15 and having fun with your guns is far more important to you than our kids being mowed down in our streets or in our schools. But you don't want to do anything about that, do you? Oh, no. We don't have a gun problem. We have a people problem. Well, guess what? Both can be true. Because if you're willing to pick up a gun, whether you're 17 or 16 or 60, and kill innocent people, of course there's mentally something wrong with you. But I don't want those people getting their hands on guns, particularly guns that are shooting thousands of rounds of ammunition within minutes. I don't want them getting their hands on weapons of war. No, I don't want them getting their hands on guns, period. But if I had to choose, I'd rather have them have a pistol in their hand than have an AR-15. Some of these guns were designed for one reason and one reason only, to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. Hence, weapons of war. Why is that so hard for some of you to understand? And when some of you people that want to get in the weeds with me, Brian, you don't know what an assault weapon is. Okay, then why don't you tell me what your solutions are? And don't you give me a generic, oh, we got to do something about mental illness. What are your solutions? Because what we are doing right now is not working in this country. It's not working. Gun violence is at an all-time high. It's not working. There's a lot of things we can talk about in this country. We can talk about the border. We can talk about health care. We can talk about inflation. Republicans have, now I would argue Republicans don't have solutions, but let's talk about the Democrats and Republicans. Let's talk about different ideas. Fine. This is not the problem of the Democrats when we talk about gun control. It is solely on Republicans in this country that fail to do anything. The idiots that wear their AR-15s as pins. The idiots that wear their AR-15s going into the House chambers, that brag about their guns, that are bragging about their A-plus rating from the NRA. Have you heard a Democrat in a campaign ad brag about their A-plus rating from the NRA? No, there's a reason for that. Because they put the safety of our Americans in front of what rating they get from the NRA. It is sickening. And I want to play you audio from the Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. Now, this wasn't from yesterday. This was 2 years ago. Steve Kerr's father died from gun violence. This is an emotional and passionate Steve Kerr, and it rings true today. This is what Steve Kerr had to say in a basketball press conference 2 years ago that rings true to this very day, and I like his passion, and I want you to listen to this because it rings true to today.
Since we left shoot-around, 14 children were killed 400 miles from here, and a teacher. And in the last 10 days, we've had elderly black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed in Southern California, and now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough.
Enough. Now, if you're an idiot, you'll say, oh, that's Steve Kerr. He's just a liberal. If you have no compassion and you're a moron, you'll make statements like that. Steve Kerr's father died from gun violence. Steve Kerr's right. I'm tired of it. Half the people that were shot yesterday were kids, as young as 8 years old. The woman who was killed yesterday, the DJ, by the name of Lisa Lopez, leaves behind 2 children. 22 victims who will never be the same. And for those of you out there that want to attack people for being passionate and being upset and not wanting these tragedies to happen, shame on you. I play that Steve Kerr audio, and some of you say, oh, look at that liberal. I explained to you the details of what took place yesterday, and your response is, well, if you don't like this country, then you can leave. You are disgusting. You are deplorable. You are part of the problem. My heart goes out to everybody that was affected yesterday, even the people that were not injured. They'll never forget that day. They saw bodies around them, kids shot, screaming in agony and pain. A mom who lost her life, sadly. Where are your solutions? If you don't have any solutions or ideas of how we can fix this problem, then you're a part of the problem. I've said this before and I'll say it again. We need to raise the age from 18 to 21. I don't want an 18-year-old the day he turns 18 like the Uvalde shooter to be able to walk into a gun store and buy thousands of rounds of ammunition and a bunch of AR-15s with no training. And if your excuse to not having that happen is, well, Brian, you could be 18 and serve in the military, that leads me to number 2. You have to be trained how to use weapons in the military. We need to have mandatory training. Give me an hour training course, just an hour, to be taught how to hold the weapon, how to shoot the weapon, how to store the weapon, how to load the weapon, the very basics. I understand driving a car is a privilege, but in order to get your driver's license, you have to have an instructor next to you, make sure you can drive the car safely, check your eyesight and your health, and you have to take a written test. We should have the exact same at a minimum when it comes to guns. The third thing I would do is an assault weapons ban, which fizzled out in the early 90s. And if you look at gun violence went down. And then the Republicans allowed the bill to fizzle out in the early 90s. Gun violence started to go back up. Some of these guns should not be sold to the general public. Only law enforcement and our brave men and women in uniform. You don't need some of these assault weapons to hunt deer. You don't need some of these assault weapons to protect yourself. The fourth thing I would do would be red flag laws. In some states in this country, you can threaten the life of a loved one, of a friend, and say, I'm going to buy a gun and kill you. And in most situations, you'll be arrested, and then you'll be released the next day, legally allowed to purchase a gun. That has to stop. Out of those four things that I just mentioned, give me two. Republicans will not do it. The lawmakers, as I like to call them, noisemakers, not lawmakers, will not do it. Why? The overwhelming majority of Republicans in this country have no solutions to really any problems facing the nation. They want to talk about the threat of the border and those undocumented that are coming in illegally. They want to preach about that 24/7, but when it comes to guns, crickets, nothing. Why? Because many in the back pocket of the NRA. That's why. Because when it all comes down to it, many of them care more about remaining in power and their A+ rating from the NRA than they actually care about the safety of our children and people in this country at the hands of gun violence. That's why. This is a difference between doing what's right and not doing anything at all. Now, if you want to give me some solutions or solutions that Republicans have come up with in the past 20 years, I'm all ears. You might disagree with what some of the solutions that Democrats have come up with. You might not agree with it. But guess what? You don't get to criticize if you don't have any solutions of your own. I just gave you four things that we should do as a nation, four very basic things that we could do. Wouldn't end all the gun violence in this country, but it would lower it, and it would save lives, and that's what this is all about. It's about saving lives. Democrats do not want to take all your guns away. That is a lie being put forth by the right. And if you don't believe me, please name me one Democrat in office today, policy-wise, that wants to take all your guns away. They don't. That's a lie, and I don't either. I think any American that is not a felon should be allowed to purchase a gun legally. And I have no problem with that to defend yourself. But we are a country that is obsessed with our guns. Even days after mass shootings, we have Republicans in the House wearing AR-15 pins. Thank God that bastard George Santos isn't in office anymore. But there are others in office that sang thoughts and prayers on social media yesterday, and then we see images of them months prior wearing their AR-15 pins. And the governor of Missouri, the coward, the gun-loving coward of Missouri, he pranced and ran. Didn't mention anything about guns, though, in his speech today. Nothing about guns. He called the shooters thugs, which I would imagine many middle-aged white people that are Republican, crusty Republicans, will be doing today. They'll attack them because they're black, but they won't talk about the real problem, which is gun violence in this country. I'm going to open up the phone lines for you now. And we're going to take a 90-second break, and when we come back, we're going to take calls on the other side. I want to know what you think about this shooting yesterday. I want to know if you disagree with me, as some people have said on social media, and then these are the same people that are cowardly and they don't know how to call into a radio show, or they are not capable of speaking how they feel and backing it with anything. But if you think I'm spewing propaganda, then I want to hear from you. If you agree with me, I want to hear from you as well. I want to know what you think about the shooting yesterday. What do you think about the lack of action with so many of these politicians in Washington, D.C.? The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. Again, that number if you want to be a part of the show, 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-SAVE. I am appalled. I am angry. And we all should be angry as Americans at the shooting that took place in Kansas City while innocent people were just trying to enjoy a parade and cheering on their team that just won the Super Bowl. And now we have, my understanding, at least 10 children ranging in ages starting at 8 years old that were shot. And we have an innocent woman, a mother of two that was killed yesterday. Why can't we stop this carnage and this violence? Why is gun violence so high in this country? I ask you all that question. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come back with your calls on the other side. Again, that number, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We'll take a quick break. Your calls on the other side. When we come back, you're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Sad day in Kansas City yesterday, which was supposed to be a fun day for so many, celebrating the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, and instead it ended in tragedy where a woman lost her life, a mother of two, over 22 people shot, half of those children as young as 8 years old. It's horrible. It's a tragedy. I'm angry. I want the carnage to stop, and I want action to be taken in Washington, D.C. So many of the wrong people getting their hands on guns, in some cases weapons of war, and it's almost like we're just so numb to it and normalized to it, and it's so bothersome. I want to hear from you. I want to know what your solutions are. You don't agree with my solutions, then I want to hear from you. The number to call, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's start off with Billy, who's first up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Billy. Billy?
Hey, man, tell me what an assault rifle is.
I'm sorry?
Tell me what an assault rifle is.
Okay, well, let me start off the conversation by saying this, sir. I'm not interested in getting into the weeds with somebody that wants to tell me what an assault weapon is unless you have solutions to the problem.
Well, you're the one that brought it up. Tell me what an assault rifle is.
Okay, sir, I'll answer your question, but I'd like you to answer mine. What are your solutions to all the gun violence in this country? Since you seem to know so much about guns.
There's not a problem with the guns.
Oh, there's not.
a problem with people.
Gotcha.
We've always had guns.
Okay, so let's go with that. Why is it then? Why is it then that we have?
Check this
Sir, I'm talking now. That means you listen. Why is it that we have so much gun violence in this country, more than any other country in the world? How can you say we don't have a gun problem when we have more guns than people in this country, and we have more gun violence than virtually any other country in the world, sir?
I'm 65 years old. When I was young, we didn't have this gun violence, and the guns were still here.
Sir, I'm going to repeat myself. We have more gun violence.
How many
sir,
people,
I need you to listen. Sir, I need you to listen. If we can have a conversation, then I'll gladly listen to you. We have more gun violence than virtually any other country in the world. We also are second in the world in the most guns in the world in this country. You don't think there's any type of correlation there? You think that's just a coincidence, sir?
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
How many people get killed with
What
knives
do you,
every
hold
year?
on. I asked, first of all, sir, can you tell me the last time in this country we had a mass knife killing where 20 or 30 kids in a school were killed from a knife?
It doesn't matter.
Sir, you just compared, you just compared knives to assault weapons. It is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And all you said was okay when I asked you a question. So I'm going to ask it, sir, I need you to pay attention, sir, and I'm going to ask you again. Here's what I need you to do, sir. You might be making love to your gun right now. I'm going to ask you to take a 5-minute break and listen to my question. We have more guns, sir, take your protection off, stop making love to your gun, and pay attention and listen to what I'm going to say, because all you said was okay, and you didn't respond to my question. I'm going to repeat it again, and I'm going to speak slowly so maybe somebody like you can understand. We have more guns than people in this country. We have more guns than virtually any other country in the world. We also have more gun violence than just about any other country in the world. Do you think that's just a coincidence, or do you think there just might be something to that, and maybe we have too many guns in this country? It's a very fair question, sir.
No, it ain't because of the guns. It's because of the way people are raising their kids nowadays.
First of all, it isn't, not it ain't. So if we can go with third grade grammar.
I'm from the South. It ain't.
Okay, I understand. So you're not educated. I understand, sir. I'll help you out. It's okay. It ain't. That's all right. You can speak broken English. That's fine. So it is your opinion, sir, that even though we have more guns than people, you have no solutions to the problem. Okay, I'll ask you like this, sir. What are your solutions? What should we do as a country to lower the gun violence? I want to hear from you. What are your solutions, sir?
Quit being so soft on the ones that commit the crimes.
Quit being so soft on the ones that commit the crimes. So,
exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, so you think, so be specific with me on a gun crime that was committed where you say, boy, they weren't harsh enough on that individual. Give me an example?
If you kill somebody on purpose with a gun, you should go to prison for the rest of your life. You took a life for a life.
Gotcha. Okay, so a deranged 18-year-old that goes into a gun store shoots his grandmother.
Exactly.
Hold on. Shoots his
Exactly.
grandmother in the face, kills a bunch of kids. You're telling me you don't think that animal would have committed that crime if it wasn't, by the way, Uvalde shooter, it doesn't matter what mass shooter there is, they are getting life in prison, sir. They are.
No, they're not. No,
Okay,
they're not.
so give me
No, they're
somebody.
not.
Okay, so give me an example of a mass shooting where somebody went into a school and killed a bunch of innocent children and they didn't get life in prison in the last 30 years.
They get 20 to life.
No,
and they
sir,
can get out
sir,
before they're dead.
sir. Listen to my question. It's a very important one.
They
And by the way,
should die in
sir,
prison.
okay, so sir, I agree with you. I think if you shoot somebody and kill somebody intentionally, you should get life in prison. I agree with you, but you just said something interesting. I'm asking you a specific question. A mass,
Look it up.
sir, I'm not. You're the one making the point. I'm asking you to give me an example. Somebody that went into a school and killed multiple people. Can you give me an example of one of those people in the last 30 years that did not get life in prison without parole? Just give me one example.
I don't have. I
You
don't
don't
have a computer
okay,
in
sir.
front of me to
Sir,
look
the
it up.
reason
You
why,
do.
sir, the reason why you can't come up with it is because that didn't happen. School shooters in
I
this
bet it did.
school.
bet
I
it
don't
did.
care. I don't care what you bet, sir. I don't care. You're wrong. Now, in general, do we need to be tougher on people who commit crimes with guns? I agree with you. Yes, we do. But do you mean to tell me that you have no problem with assault weapons being sold to the public at the age of 18? Are you okay with that? And are you not for comprehensive background checks, which Republicans seem to be against? Are you against comprehensive background checks, sir?
No, but you still haven't told me what you consider an assault weapon.
You still haven't given me one example of any of the things you've said on this show. Your comment is look it up in a computer.
Wait,
Let
what?
me ask you another
What?
question. Let me ask you another question, sir. Why is it with some of the biggest mass shootings in the country, the weapon of choice is always seems to be an AR-15 in most cases? In the biggest mass shootings in the United States, AR-15s are used. Sir, why is that? Why are they not using knives or pistols, sir?
An AR-15 is not an assault
I
weapon.
didn't. That wasn't the question. Answer the question, and I'm going to repeat it again very slowly, okay? No. I know you're from down south. I understand. So I'll speak slowly for you, sir. Why is it that in the biggest mass shootings in this country, they're not the biggest mass killings, mass shootings, they're not knives, they're not pistols, they're AR-15s, the shooting in Buffalo, the shooting in Uvalde, the shooting in Las Vegas, to name a few. Why? Now, the question wasn't what is an assault weapon. That wasn't the question. The question is, why is it that they are using AR-15s and not knives, sir? Can you please answer that for me, since you know so much about guns?
I don't know why they do it. I don't even
Well,
own an
I'll tell you why,
AR-15
sir.
at all.
I'll tell you why, sir. I know you don't know why. I do. Because those weapons were used, and those weapons are used and were made for one reason and one reason only: to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. Sir, does that not make any sense to you? Do you want to talk about knives again? Sir, when was the last time somebody with a knife went into a school and massacred 20 kids in this country? When did that happen, sir?
Over a year's time, people kill more people with
Sir,
knives than
that
guns.
wasn't the
Over a
question.
year's
Sir,
time.
sir, you have no idea what you're talking about. There are more people that die.
Look it up.
Sir,
If you think
bye, sir. Bye. Have a nice day, sir. You're probably you win the dumbest caller of the week. You are trying to make the claim that more people die in this country from knives than guns. Then you are a complete buffoon. And I'm not going to waste one more second of my airtime speaking to someone like you. You ain't calling back, okay? Maybe you can you ain't calling back, okay? I know you're from down south, so you can't speak English. No, I know a lot of people down south, sir, that are very educated and they know how to speak. You don't know how to speak, and you don't know what you're talking about. That's what some of you people do. You want to talk about knives. Notice how he didn't directly answer one question that I asked him. No, because it hasn't happened in this country. We haven't had 60 people die at the hands of somebody with a knife. We haven't had somebody go into a school with a knife and kill 20 people. But this dope doesn't know what he's talking about. But that's okay. It's an excuse because he's from down south. Give me a break. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Julie. Julie's next. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Brian. Well, I disagree with you that we are the country that has most mass shooting in the world. That's incorrect. Venezuela, Google
I
it.
didn't
Google
say
it right
we
now.
have. I didn't say we had the most mass shootings. Again, you're not listening to me. I said virtually.
You are going to compare
Julie,
apples and
Julie,
pears.
Julie,
The population
Julie,
in the United States is different
Julie,
to other countries.
Julie,
First of all,
we are first, second, or third.
let
Julie,
me speak.
Julie,
Let
no,
me speak because
you
you're
don't.
interrupting me.
Julie, I interrupted you because once again you misquote what I said, and I'm going to repeat it again so hopefully you can understand. We have, according to the world, the most gun violence, one of the most, as far as the United States of America I'm talking about, top 2 or 3 in the world. We have more gun violence in this country than any other country in the world. Top 2 or 3, also the most guns. So if you called into the show to get into the weeds with me on whether we're first or second, then I'm not interested in having that conversation with you. What I want to know is, what are your solutions? What are your solutions to all the gun violence in this country? Now, please answer my question, and I will not interrupt you.
What is it? What is it? What is your question?
Are you serious?
Venezuela,
It's the same question.
South Africa,
Okay, I'm not
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan? You're saying there's more gun violence in Afghanistan than the United States of America? Julie, let's be serious here. I'm going to ask you the same question that I am asking everybody else. No different from you, even though you are different. No different. What are your solutions? We clearly have a gun problem in this country. You know what? Let me start out by asking you the most basic of questions, Julie, okay, that I think we will agree on. At least I'm praying and I'm hoping. Now, it's just a yes or no. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. Is that okay? Can I do that, Julie?
Yes, but let
Thank
me
you.
speak.
Okay.
Let me explain myself
okay.
as well.
Yes or no? Do you agree we don't want innocent people to die in this country? Can we agree on that? Yes?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That's a good place to start. Do you agree with me that we shouldn't have to drop off our kids at school worried that they might not come home that day? Do you agree that parents should never have to go through that? Can we agree on that?
Correct.
Okay, good.
I agree with that.
Okay, good. Do you agree with me that we have a gun violence problem in this country, meaning there are too many people getting their hands on guns, bad people that shouldn't have no business getting their hands on guns to begin with, that are committing horrible acts? Do you agree there are too many bad people with guns in this country that have access to guns? Would you agree with that?
Now, can I explain?
So you, okay, I'll let you explain, but I just want to get your answer right. You don't agree with me that we have too many bad people in this country getting their hands on guns. You don't agree with that?
I disagree with you, and I'm going to explain why.
So there's not a lot of bad people that get their hands on guns in this country. Is that your position?
No, we have a problem with division and hate by the media telling that white people are the problem and MAGA is the problem and
Julie,
Christian is the problem.
Julie,
and if we continue with the hate, you are
Julie,
in
I
those
haven't mentioned.
people
I haven't
that
mentioned.
have mental problems.
Julie,
grab a gun. Remember the ones that went to the Christian school.
Pot her down again. Julie, I haven't mentioned blaming white people. I haven't mentioned blaming the color of one's skin. I haven't done that on this show. I just asked you a very generic question that had nothing to do with skin color or MAGA. I asked you a very specific question that I would assume you're incapable of answering, but I'm going to ask it again. Do you agree with me that there are too many bad people in this country that have too much of easy access of getting their hands on guns and guns in the hands of the wrong people that are bad people? Notice I said bad people. I didn't say MAGA people. I didn't say white people. I said bad people. Why can't you just answer that question without talking about skin color or politics? Don't you agree with me that too many bad people in this country get their hands on guns? Why can't you just answer that?
Why do you think a trans person grab a gun?
Have a nice day, Julie. You just brought up a trans person now. Julie, it's impossible to have a conversation with you. It really is. I'm getting to that point. It's impossible. Julie brings up trans people. I mean, it's just, how do you have a conversation with somebody like that? Hey, Julie, I'm not a bigot like you. I don't care whether somebody is trans, black, white, yellow, purple. I don't want bad people getting their hands on guns. I don't care what's between their legs. And unfortunately, you do. And you're part of the problem. Just like the last caller down south is part of the problem. So are you. Stop focusing on whether somebody is trans or white or black and maybe start focusing on the real problem, which is the gun culture in this country. Holy smokes. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Yvonne is next. Hello, Yvonne.
Hi. What was the question? You know what? My thing is, all of this shooting and stuff, instead of locking them up using taxpayers' money, why don't they save some of the money, sending it over to another country, and send them to Ukraine to help them fight? They need someone that likes to shoot a lot. Why can't they do that?
Well, I think that's a very slippery slope, and here's why I say that. You're talking about somebody who committed a felony, who maybe shot somebody in this country, and then you're going to trust them with a gun in another country serving our country? I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know if I would trust that.
I wouldn't put it as serving the country, but put them on the front line. That'll shake them up. They'll be too scared to use a gun again after a lot of shots are shot at them.
I hear what you're saying in theory. I understand what you are saying. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. And I think what's logical to me is we need to address the gun problem in this country and the gun violence in this country, and Republicans are not doing anything about it. And that's my biggest issue. And I just feel like these weapons of war should not be sold to the public. And people want to focus, like Julie, want to focus on if it's a transgender shooter or what the sexuality of the shooter is or the skin color of the shooter. Unless it's labeled a hate crime, that's completely irrelevant to the conversation.
So how do they stop selling the guns? I mean, how do they keep them off the streets?
Well, it's a good question.
How do you keep those kind of guns out of their hands?
Yeah, and here's where I sort of agree. The only thing I agree with the guy from down south who didn't know how to speak on the air, but I do agree with him on this. We need to be tougher on gun laws. If you sell a gun illegally, I think it should be a mandatory prison sentence of 5 years. I really do. If you sell, if you sell a gun to somebody and you know you're illegally selling it to them, that's it. 5 years in prison. You never get to own a gun again for the rest of your life. So I think we need to start there. If you're caught with an illegal gun, let's just say somebody gets pulled over for speeding, a citation, and they find a gun, an illegal gun in your car, it's got to be a mandatory prison sentence. So I think we can start there. Red flag laws, 18 to 21. I think there are mandatory, classes to learn how to use a firearm. There's other things we can do, but I do think we need to clamp down on illegal guns in society as well.
And the person who sells them and the stores who sell them too.
Absolutely. If it's sold illegally, they need to be held. I agree with you. So I think we agree. There's a lot of different things I think we can do as a country. But guess what? You know why it's not going to happen? Because the Republicans that brag about their A+ rating from the NRA won't do it. In fact, they want to make it easier for people to sell guns. That's exactly what the governor of Missouri has done. The governor of Missouri has made it easier for people. In fact, he signed a law last August, a provision that would nullify federal gun laws in the state. Meanwhile, this was the same coward running for his life yesterday, and he makes it easier for people in Missouri to carry guns. Well, guess what? Those people, the good guys with guns, sadly didn't win yesterday. I wish they did, but they didn't. I appreciate the call. I appreciate the call. I think we agree on a lot of the same things. I just hope they can implement it. Thank you for the call. Nice to hear from you. Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Brian. Hey, our neighbors to the north, Canada, they have been doing a lot of assisted suicide up there with suicide pods and whatnot, and that is not considered an act of violence. It's considered a medical procedure. Here in the United States, the majority of all so-called gun violence year after year is suicide. So if you take away suicides from gun violence, the numbers look completely different. And then if you go into the inner cities and you add up all the inner city violence, that is 90% of all gun-related deaths.
So what happened yesterday? Was that assisted suicide? What happened?
Are you kidding me?
I'm asking you.
Is that your rebuttal?
I'm asking
you. That was inner city gang violence.
Okay.
What that was.
Got you. Okay. So it was gun violence. Got you. Okay. So that was gun violence. You live in Las Vegas, right, Patrick?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So the October 1 shooting. What was that? Biggest mass shooting in American history. Was that assisted suicide?
you're missing the whole point.
No, sir. You're missing the point.
You're
The biggest.
missing the whole point.
You're missing the whole point. You're making the claim that most of the gun violence in this country is assisted suicide, and you're wrong. That is not true. Okay.
Majority of all gun-related deaths are suicide. That is a fact. Year after year.
Okay. So what do we do about that
majority
then? So what's your solution? What do we do about that? Is that a gun problem? What should we do about that?
Is it an act of violence?
You're asking, by the way, where's the stat that says that the majority, and more than 50%, I'm assuming would be the majority, of gun violence in this country?
That is a majority.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
So
good.
where is your stat and where is your source that over 50% of the gun violence in the United States of America?
I'll post it to your Twitter page.
No,
It's
no,
the
no,
same
no.
place
I asked you. I didn't, sir. I didn't ask
This
you,
is common knowledge.
sir.
Hey, this is
sir,
common facts. You should
Patrick,
know this.
Patrick,
You're so
Patrick,
passionate about
Patrick, Patrick. I didn't ask you to post it to my Twitter page, and I didn't ask you to give your opinions on whether it's common knowledge or not. You're making a claim, which I don't believe is true, that the overwhelming majority of the gun violence in this country is suicide. And I'm asking you a very specific question. Where did you get that from? What website and what is your source to give you that? Where did you get it from? Patrick, I need you to listen to me, okay? When you make a claim on this show, you're welcome to do so, but I need you to source it. I'm going to ask you again, because on this show, Patrick, you don't just throw things at a wall and hope that it sticks. So, Patrick, where did you get that information from?
Are you saying it's not true?
I am asking you for the source, Patrick. Why won't you give it to me?
Well, you're supposed to be the expert on this.
Sir,
you're so passionate about it. You talk about it.
Patrick, you're the one who called into this show and made a claim. I never said I was an expert. I said I don't want innocent people to die. I'm sick of all the gun violence in this country. You're the one who calls into this show and claims, which is a lie, by the way, what you're saying is not true, that over 50% of the gun violence in this country is suicide. I am asking you, if you're making that claim, which you are, where did you get that from? Where is your source? I find it interesting, Patrick, that you don't have a source, but I'll give you another chance. What is the source of that information?
The CDC.
So that you're claiming that the CDC is saying, okay, and you're laughing because obviously you don't have a source and you're just acting like a complete clown.
I'm on the computer. I'm looking. There's something called Google. You can look it up.
So I'm asking
Everybody
you.
knows
Okay, so if you read it off of Google, then why won't you give me where you got it from? What website?
I just told you, the CDC.
So the CDC says that of all the gun violence in this country, over half is suicide. Is that what you're claiming the CDC is saying, Patrick?
All right. According to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention data, 48,830 people were killed with a firearm in 2021. Suicides were 54% of all firearm-related deaths compared to 43% of homicides.
So compared to 43% homicides, and I'm sorry, what year was that, Patrick?
That was 2021, my friend.
Okay, so
suicides are up over the last couple of years. They're not down.
Okay, so let's go with that stat for 1 second, Patrick. Let's go with that stat.
It's a fact.
Okay, Patrick, I need you to listen now. Let's go with that stat for a second. I know you think all the people dying in this country from guns is funny, based on your Tucker Carlson girlish type
your
laugh.
Analysis
but
hilarious.
Okay, so Patrick, let's go with that. What are your solutions then? What do you think we should do in this country since we have so many people dying? Well, what do you think we should do?
Well, we've got to address first the majority of them are suicides, and then the other majority
Patrick,
are vastly
I didn't
all
ask
in the
you
inner cities from gang violence.
Patrick, I didn't ask
These
you.
These aren't law-abiding citizens.
Patrick,
these are thugs.
Patrick, I didn't ask you cause. I asked you for solution. Do you understand what the difference is? I'm going to ask it again.
Okay. So let's talk about your solutions.
No. Patrick, we're not talking about my solutions, and we're not talking about cause. I need you to focus. We're talking about Patrick's solutions. I want to know if Patrick was president of the United States or if Patrick was a lawmaker. Thank God you're not. I want to know what your solutions are. Not my solutions. I want to know what your solutions are. I don't want to know the cause. I want to know what you would do. What should we do as a nation to lower the gun violence in this country?
How can you solve something if you don't even understand
Okay.
the numbers or what the cause is?
Okay, Patrick, let's assume you know all the numbers.
Hilarious.
Patrick, let's assume you know all the numbers. I'm going to ask you again for the 5th time.
Well,
What
it
are
was
Patrick's
the previous
Patrick?
caller, the guy from the
Patrick,
South.
Patrick, we're not talking about the previous caller. We're not talking about my solutions. We're not talking about cause. We're talking about Patrick's solutions. This is now the 6th time I've asked you, Patrick. You want to talk about comical. I'm asking you again. What should we do as a country, Patrick, in your opinion, to lower all the people dying at the hands of guns? I'm asking you now for a last time.
What are we going to do about all the people committing suicide?
Any answers the question with a question. Patrick, thank you so much for the phone call. You're proving once again that I waste my time every time I take your call. It is interesting that people that disagree with me are not capable of answering the basic questions. I've given my solutions. Notice how Patrick doesn't have any solutions. He wants to get in the weeds with me about suicide, even though the shooting yesterday had nothing to do with suicide. The biggest mass shootings in this country are not suicide. But Patrick has no solutions. Notice that? No solutions. These people that call into this show that make love to their guns every night have no solutions. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Susan. Susan is next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Susan.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good, Susan. What's on your mind?
Well, I was calling about the caller who spoke about how many murders happen, whether it's knives or whether it's guns. So I looked it up, and I'm looking at the chart right now from the FBI website, and it says total number of murders, 15,129, total from firearms, 10,982.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and then it goes on with object knives. Knives is 1,591.
Right, so you're saying there are 10 times more people killed in this country due to the gun violence than it is knives. I'm shocked that this guy from down south who couldn't even speak on the air, couldn't put a sentence together, doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to guns. But Susan, isn't this the playbook from these people that are in love with their guns? They want to talk about knives and knife attacks.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no
Knife
idea what they're
attacks,
talking
yeah.
about. That guy made the claim, and he made it sound like there are more people getting murdered from knives than guns. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yes. That's very stupid. That's why I had to look it up.
Yeah, it really is mesmerizing to me. The people that call into the show that think I don't know what I'm talking about are the people that literally spread misinformation and don't know what they're talking about. And I asked these people a very simple question. When was the last time somebody with a knife went into a school and massacred 20 or 30 kids? When was the last time in this country somebody with a knife killed 62 people at a music concert? When was the last time that happened? And again, they can't give me an answer because it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Do people die from knife attacks? Absolutely. But to compare knives as weapons compared to what's more deadly, which is, of course, guns, is absurd. You can't talk to these people.
Yeah, and of course, assault weapons are even more deadly.
Yeah.
Because they can fire quickly.
Exactly.
We are
a country that is obsessed with our guns. That's the bottom line.
And we need to have background checks. We need to have training. We need to have registration of people who own guns. We need to have all those things, and we need to ban the multiple shot weapons.
Agree.
Because you don't need to shoot a deer that many times.
Absolutely. Well,
if
Donald Trump,
you shouldn't be hunting.
Donald Trump Jr. might enjoy doing that because that's what he gets off on. But for every regular, everyday people, I agree with you, Susan, 100%. Susan, thank you for the call, and I appreciate you.
You betcha.
I appreciate you giving me those actual, real facts. I'm shocked this guy down south who couldn't even speak English thinks that that knives kill more people than guns. I mean, you can't have conversations with people like that. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate you.
You betcha.
Thank you. 702.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Damon. Damon is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Damon.
Hey, what's going on, Brian?
How you doing?
I'm all right. The caller before Susan, the guy was saying that it's mostly suicides. So is that a good thing that it's mostly suicide?
Of
like,
course.
there's still people killing themselves because they can get their hands on a gun. Is
Of
that a good
course.
thing?
Damon, I'm so glad you brought that up because I was actually thinking that when he brought it up, and I'm thinking to myself, Is that a positive? You want to make it easier for people to kill themselves? Like this is the type of people that call into this show that are pro-gun, where they'll come up with this really weird argument. Maybe knives.
Pro-life too.
Yeah, not right, exactly. Pro-life. Knives are more dangerous than guns. Oh, but they're committing suicide, so that's not gun violence. How can I have a conversation with people like that?
I don't know, Brian, but it's entertaining to see you try.
I'm glad I'm entertaining with the stress that I have to go through every day, but it is frustrating. And I want what I'd like to think you want, Damon, what most people want, which is we don't want innocent people to be shot and killed. We don't want people to go to a Kansas City Chiefs parade, and a mother losing her life and kids shot. It's just I don't know why these people that are the gun lovers that call into this show, why they can't just start off a conversation by saying, man, this is horrible. We do have a problem in this country. Brian, I might disagree with you on how we fix the problem, but you're right. It's a terrible problem. It's interesting how they never start off the call with that, isn't it, Damon?
Well, it's because the problem is this, Brian, seriously, and we got to get to the bottom of this. People think they're brave because they get a gun. Well, I get a gun because I'm protecting my family. I'm being brave, blah, 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 blah. No, you're getting a gun because you're scared. You're getting a gun because you watch Fox News and No Way In, and they got you scared, and you've been watching local news that's owned by Sinclair Network for years. Sinclair Network is worse than Fox News, and they your local news. If you look up the stats now, they done bought up all the local news stations, and they scare you every day. And that's the problem. We the home of the phony, the fake brave and the phony tough. That's the problem. We say we brave because we get a gun. And the only thing I ever heard in the hood when I was in the streets is if you're scared, go get a gun, or if you're scared, call the police. And that's all they ever do.
And that's a good point, Damon. And I'll tell you, I'm driving into the show today to the station. And again, I just listened to the conservative talk radio because it's so pathetic. All these right-wing talk shows are all the same. And what are they saying, Damon? They're focusing on the fact that the shooters were black, or at least two of them were. They're focusing on the fact that it might have been gang-related. Like somehow that makes it better or worse. Gun violence is gun violence, whether it's gang-related violence in Chicago or a white kid that goes into a school and kills a bunch of innocent children. These are lives that are being lost. Why is it that people on the right want to focus on? Now, listen, if they had a manifesto that said, I'm killing a bunch of white people today, then that would be relevant to talk about. But that is not the case here. This wasn't a hate crime. These were idiot criminals who got their hands on guns, and innocent people died because of it. Why can't we focus on that?
Well, the thing is, Brian, you know how polarizing, or, when you say black people to the crowd that they're appealing to. Black people are the biggest boogeyman to them and will always be. And that's never going to change. So anytime there's a black person involved, you just got to scratch the slate clean on this one. You ain't going to make a point with them because they're going to get stuck on that. They're going to start telling you crazy stuff like knife kills more people, hammers kill people. They got every excuse in the world, and like you always ask them, and I love you for doing this, Brian, well, what's your solution? And their solutions is pure trash.
They don't have any solutions.
That's why they don't want to give it. That's why they don't want to give it.
Yeah, the guy from down south who spoke the broken English, that's a kind way of putting it. If you notice, Damon, he had no solutions. Patrick, who called in, who wanted to talk about suicide with guns, notice how he didn't have any solutions. He said, Brian, let's talk about your solutions. No, that wasn't the question. I asked you about your solutions. Then we can talk about my solutions. Many of these people, most of them, have no solutions. And if you listen to some of these cowards in Washington, D.C., like the Ted Cruz's of the world, their solutions are more guns make us safer, lock the back door of schools, and let's arm kindergarten teachers. It's comical, it's pathetic, and I've had it.
Yeah, that's the truth, Brian. But one solution we could have that you don't mention would be really good is if the gun manufacturers, like I told you before talking to that other crazy lady, that most people, and I know this from firsthand knowledge, you drive to neighboring states and you grab the guns that are legal. No guns start off illegal. They all start off legal. They don't have a legal pile and an illegal pile.
Correct.
But it's so easy, Brian, and I know firsthand, it's so easy to go buy 10 guns at one time. No questions asked.
Agree. And I'm with you. I'm with you on that, Damon. And that's why I say if you sell a gun illegally, it should be a mandatory prison sentence. If you're caught with a gun illegally. Yeah.
Why do you need more? And why do you need bulk unless you're out to sell them as a consumer? You might, if you don't have a gun license to sell guns, you shouldn't be able to go buy guns in bulk.
You see, Damon, that's what I call a solution. And while I agree with you, while some people might disagree with you, it's a solution. And if some of these gun nuts out there that call into this show actually came up with something like that, I would give them some credit for it. But guess what? They don't, Damon. They don't have any solutions. They just think everybody should own 1,000 guns and that'll make us all safer. And it's pathetic.
Yeah, it is.
Damon, I
Yes, it
appreciate
is.
you, and I appreciate your phone call, my man. Thank you as always.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Thanks, Damon. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Joshua, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Joshua.
I hate to break it to you, but you're not better than everybody because you live in the north, or because you're from the Northeast.
I don't know.
People from the Northeast, you think you're better than everybody else, and it's really annoying.
When have I ever said that I'm better than everybody else? I mean, I might be better than you.
You specifically go after people from the southern region of the U.S.
No, sir. I actually, if you listen to the show, I said there's a lot of people down south that are very intelligent and very educated. Unfortunately, the guy who called in was not one of those people. So if you actually listen to what I say just because you're from down south doesn't mean you can't speak English. The guy called up and he didn't know how to talk and he didn't sound very intelligent. I was actually defending people down south. If you actually listen, I said most people down south don't talk like that. They're intelligent, and they actually can have a conversation, and I can reason with them, and they can reason with me. So I was actually saying the opposite. It was the one person who called in who used the excuse, I'm from down south, because he sounded ignorant, and that's unfair to people that live down south. Does that not make any sense?
I listened to you. You specifically only go after
Sir,
people
we're talking
from the
about
southern region
children.
of the US.
Sir, we're talking about children that were shot at a Kansas City Chiefs parade today. That's a little bit more important than what your opinions or my opinions are on people that live down south. Do you actually have anything intelligent to say about gun control and what took place yesterday at the parade?
Quite frankly, I don't care what the topic is because this is public airwaves. So
Okay, thank you. And guess what? You're off my radio show. I don't care what you have to say. Thank you for calling in. That was a very intelligent call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Henry. Henry is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Henry.
Hey, where do you want me to start, with my solutions or my question?
I would love to hear some solutions from you, and then we can go from there. Let's do one at a time, and let's discuss them. Go ahead.
Just try to have a discussion.
I'm all for
it. You choose a take a gun, illegal, 10 years, no questions asked.
Okay, so we sort of agree on that. I think 10 years might be a little too harsh, but I can reason with you on that. I do think that if you're talking about selling a gun illegally, or if you're caught with a gun illegally.
I'm saying if you're caught with a gun.
Okay,
10 years, no questions asked. Throw the book.
I think 10 years would be hard to pass. I'm not saying I disagree with it, but I would go for, maybe 5 years. But I do think we need to have harsher laws put on the books. I agree with you.
Then we'll meet in the middle and say 8.
Okay.
You make that choice. You want to do that, you deserve to go to jail. I don't care, black or white, left or right.
I don't disagree with you, Henry, but let me ask you a question. Which party would never pass those laws?
Shit, I don't know. Probably both sides. One will say it's inhumane, and the other side will not obviously go for it because of the guns.
Okay, I can go with that. I think that's fair. I think Democrats and Republicans need to come to the table, which they never do usually. And if you're caught with an illegal gun, and listen, I think there are exceptions, right? What if somebody is given a gun from a family member and they didn't know that the gun was illegal? So I think Henry, there has to be some exceptions, but I understand.
Of course.
I understand what you are saying.
Nine times out of 10.
Okay, so
you
we
want
agree.
to put a gun in your waistband.
Yes.
You're going to go to prison.
I agree with you. I think that's a good place to start. Go ahead, give me another one.
And two, if you commit a crime with it, you go do 25 years or life. Again, no questions asked.
Well, yeah, if you commit a crime with a gun, you could be robbery. I mean, there's a lot of different serious crimes you could commit with a gun, so I'm on board with that as well.
Yeah, there's no difference between robbery or flashing a gun, whatever. You just go to prison.
Don't have a problem. Don't have a problem with that either.
Just like in the countries where they chop off your hand where you steal. It is what it is.
I don't think that's going to happen here, but if we're talking about hard jail time, I can be on board with that.
Well, I got friends who are felons. If they're caught with a gun, they're going to go do 25 years. So guess what they don't?
I'm okay with that.
Guess what they don't do?
Yeah,
they don't carry a gun.
Right, and I do think that would save lives. I do think that there are some criminals out there that might think twice before they carry an illegal gun, and I am okay with that. But you see, in order to have that, we have to have Republicans and Democrats come together, and I just don't have much hope for that these days.
Of course. So my other question is, if you had one of the solutions you had passed, how would that have stopped yesterday's situation?
Okay, so so I named a bunch of different things, and let me preface it by saying this. Nothing I mentioned in my solutions will stop all the gun violence in this country. What I did say is if you give me just a couple of those, gun violence will be lowered. Now, we need to still find out how the two juveniles got their hands on these guns. I would imagine, obviously, they got these guns illegally. Maybe, perhaps, the things we have both mentioned, which are mandatory gun sentences, maybe they don't get their hands on those guns. That could be a deterrent. That's number one. I would also, number two, red flag laws. We don't know enough about this shooting yesterday to know a couple things. The type of guns and magazines that were used, how they got their hands on these guns. So it's impossible for me to totally answer that question because I just don't know. Now, if you want to talk about, say, the Uvalde shooter, he was 18 years old when he legally went into a gun store and purchased thousands of rounds of ammunition and an AR-15. If the age was 18 to 21, is it possible when he turned 21 he could have done the same thing? It's possible. Is it possible that he could have gotten the guns illegally? It's possible, but the point I'm trying to make is it would make it a little bit more difficult for somebody to get their hands on a weapon, and that's a good place to start. It's not going to stop all the gun violence in this country. I never said it would, but we need to make it more difficult for bad people and mentally deranged people to get their hands on weapons.
Fair.
Anything else?
Nope. Peace.
Well, I appreciate the fact that we might not agree on everything, but at least you called into the show and you had some solutions, and I do appreciate that, and I thank you for calling.
Man.
Thank you. All right. That's somebody who might not agree with me on everything, but at least when he calls into this show, he has some solutions, whether I agree with them or not. And by the way, I tend to agree with him. We need to be harder on people that have illegal guns. That's a good place to start. Republicans want to talk about, oh, well, mentally ill people, we got to make it harder for them. Okay, then put something on the books that makes it harder for people to get their hands on guns. Let's go to Gary, then we got to take a break. What's up, Gary?
Hey, it's a good thing I don't own a gun, because when you were talking to Julie, I just want to blow my effing brains out.
I have to laugh at that one because that was kind of funny.
That's what it's meant for. If it wasn't for humor, I think I would have committed suicide. It doesn't matter. I'm old. I've been around too much. Hey, Abbott and Costello, who's on first? That's what these conversations with Julie remind me of. I don't mind that people disagree with you or agree with you. I can take it. I'm not thin-skinned.
Well, I think the last caller is a perfect example of, while we might not agree on everything, give me some solutions, and then let's have a conversation about it. That's my biggest argument with Republicans today that are in office. They don't have any solutions. They don't want to.
I don't have any solutions, but I differ with you, and I take offense that you say I'm part of the problem. You know?
Well, I don't know
what the answer is. I said it before. I'll say it again. It's the mother of all endless arguments. Where's that woman you had on that really gave you your money's worth on the show a few weeks ago? Boy, was that some
well, I do have
show.
some. I do have some crazy guests from time to time. But when I say you're a part of the problem, I don't know if I was particularly talking about you, Gary. But the people that I think are the problem are some of the callers that called into this show that want to get into the weeds with me on what an assault weapon is, or they want to talk about suicide rates in this country. But then when I ask them, what are your solutions, they literally have zero. They have no solutions. Let's agree, I think we all need to agree, that we have a gun violence issue in this country. We have practically more guns in this country than any other country in the world, more gun violence practically than any other country in the world. But yet these people call in and they have no solutions. They are a part of the problem. They are dopes. They are right-wing buffoons.
Before you start on me, I should stop and hang up. But I would feel safer if everyone at least had a handgun with them, just like a cell phone.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with everybody holding a handgun. But
I agree with you.
Yes.
You're in favor of the death penalty, so you can't be all bad. All right.
I have always been in favor of the death penalty. Gary, it's good to hear from you, my friend, and I appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much, and I do not think you are a part of the problem. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a man who spent a lot of time in Kansas. His name is Paul McKeskey. He played college basketball there. He played in the NBA for 12 years as coach. He knows the lay of the land. We're going to talk to him about this coming up next. Take a quick break. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Did you know that 90
on the corner of Okie and Rainbow.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we're talking about this terrible tragedy that took place, Kansas City Chiefs. A parade where people were supposed to be having a good time and having fun until shots rang out. One woman killed, a mother of two, over 10 kids, starting at the age of 8, were shot. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. Guy joining us in the studio right now. Usually we talk basketball with him. But, he went to school. He was a great college basketball player over at Kansas Jayhawks. Played in the NBA for 12 years, coached for 20. He knows Kansas City inside and out. Spent a lot of time there. Paul McKeskey joining us in studio. Paul, thanks for being here. I wish it was under better circumstances here. You spent a lot of time in that area, particularly where the shooting happened, right?
Well, I live in Overland Park, which is probably about 15, 20 minutes from there, but I have friends that live in that area. I check with them. I've been in that building. I've been in that parking structure. It's just unfortunate with so many people celebrating a good thing that something like this happens. And, you have all these callers talking about, you're trying to get an answer from them.
Yeah.
And the problem is there an answer right now to fix everything?
No.
No. Is there an answer right now to slow it down and help? Absolutely. It's the limiting of selling assault rifles, because those are the weapons that are used. The one that fell out from the guy that was tackled was an AR pistol. Probably had a 30 to 40 clip in there. So you can shoot people really quickly. And what you do is you spray, and that's how innocent people get shot. And people, well, that's not the answer, and that's not. Well, if you have a wound or a car accident and you're bleeding profusely, are you not going to put a tourniquet on to stop the bleeding before you get to the hospital? Of course you are.
Right.
So let's put a tourniquet on this thing. And I agree with you. Instead of 18, you got to be 21, because you look at most of the school shooters, they're all young.
Right.
Right? They're
Buffalo
all
shooter was 18.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go. There's a little tourniquet.
Columbine. Yeah.
Now let's tighten it a little bit more. If you're not a law enforcement officer or military, you don't need an assault rifle. You don't need an AR-15. I'm a gun owner. I have a concealed carry. I learned I learned how to do that. My sons have ARs because they're in the service. They're police under the police guides, and they've learned how to use them. I've learned how to use them. I don't have one. And I think you had a caller in last week that I heard that said, well, I think he was in here. My wife is little and she wants to protect herself in the house. And okay, that's great. You know what the best weapon to protect you in your house is? It's not a Glock, a pistol, or an AR. It's a shotgun. A regular shotgun will protect you better in your house than any other weapon. So, that takes that whole argument out of it.
Right.
And, it's really mind-blowing that, people, well, what about the knives and what about the suicide? That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Let's put a tourniquet on this and start with ARs, and then you can go to the extended mags that you could get, 30, 40, 50 bullets in there. And people don't understand here either, because of my sons, I know this, that, these rifles, assault rifles, these officers have vests on, right? And if they go in a serious situation, they put even more. They put a steel plate or a different kind of plate in there to protect their main area, their heart, and that. These bullets from these rifles go right through those, like nothing. They don't protect them.
And
they go
you
right
come
through
from a
them.
family that has worked in law enforcement, so you know a thing or two about this stuff. And you're right. Some of the people that call in, they want to change the subject. They have no solutions to any of the problems facing this country, particularly in this case, gun violence. They'll bring up suicide. They'll bring up knife attacks that have absolutely nothing to do with the topic. And it's mesmerizing to me, and it's frustrating, and it's so sad.
Let's put a tourniquet on this thing. I mean, I'm not going to get specific, my oldest son, Michael, you know him.
Mm-hmm.
He a few years back, he was pinned under his patrol vehicle by a person shooting out of a house at him. He was pinned under there for almost an hour. And he said, I could hear this is an AR round going over. This is an AK-47. You know, people can't do that if they don't have these weapons because they got to reload, right? So I don't understand how we can't come up with something. I'm tired, along with everybody else, of thoughts and prayers. I'm tired of that. And, you know, I lived in the Kansas City area. I have friends that live in there. You know, I'm a Chiefs fan. And to have this happen and all these innocent people that are killed and wounded, you know, kids, 11 kids or 12 kids, it's just ridiculous.
So what would you say, Paul, about somebody on social media named Sam who just said, good luck taking my AR-15 and 50-round mags?
Okay, listen, Sam. Listen. I don't want your AR. I don't want it. You can keep it. We're talking about stopping them from going from now further on, right? There's nobody that's going to go into your house and take your AR. Okay, so relax, Sam. We want to stop it now and limit it now, because if you put limits on it now, then eventually it's going to catch up and have an impact. Not yours, Sam. We're not going in your house. Don't worry about it. But from now on, we should put those limitations in.
Agree. A lot of these people think, oh, I need an armed militia. We need to go after our government, you know, in case there's a civil war. A lot of these people will make the case that they want their guns to shoot deer and hunt. They want their AR-15s. They want it, you know, what people fail to recognize when it comes to the Second Amendment, what people fail to recognize is in our Constitution, written when we had something called muskets. Technology changes, okay? It changes. And with technology changes, a well-regulated militia, they don't want to talk about that. And it's so frustrating. I'll open up the phone lines.
Well,
Yeah,
Sam, you're happy with your AR. That's great. I've shot him before. Pretty cool. But can't you protect yourself with a shotgun and a Glock?
Of course.
Or a SIG?
Of course you could.
Or anything like that? You have to have an AR? Really?
Of course you could. It's very frustrating to have conversations with these people that make love to their guns every night, but when it comes to actual real solutions that can help fix the problems of gun violence in this country, zilch. They have no solutions. It's very, very difficult. It's kind of like talking to somebody that drives a car that says we shouldn't have speed limits because I enjoy driving my car 250 miles an hour on the highway. But wait a second, that's dangerous. It can hurt people, could kill people. You might be a skilled driver. You've never killed someone, but if we allow everyone to do what you do, more people are going to die on the roads. To me, it's a very similar argument to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, at this point, there's no overall solution, but there's stopgaps we can start putting in now. They didn't they do it years ago, and they limited that, and it had an effect on you know, the events that are going on in the community. So
Sure.
Why don't we at least try to do that again?
Agree. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. And if you'd like to call in, Paul in studio with myself, of course, 702-221-7283. We're talking about the deadly shooting that took place at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade, championship parade that should have never happened. It's a horrible tragedy. Bunch of kids were shot, and a woman lost her life, a mother of two. Let's go to Javier, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Javier.
How you doing?
Hi, what's up, Javier?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Yeah, I have an opinion here. It's only my opinion, my humble opinion. I am sick and tired of listening to people, you know, giving you a hard time and everything. But the real reality here is to get rid of the guns. It's not a political thing. It's not political. I believe that we got to get rid of guns out of hands of stupid people that are using them out there, because everybody has lost a family member.
I think
over guns.
I think a big problem is, I don't know if I'd use the term stupid, but we have a lot of people in Washington, D.C. that are despicable, lawmakers that care more about their A-plus rating from the NRA than actually making us safer. I think that's a big problem. And until we have people in Washington, D.C. that are willing to do the right thing, forget about the NRA and your rating from the NRA, and let's put some laws on the books that can actually save some lives. Until we have Republicans in office that are willing to do that, nothing is going to change because Democrats can't do it by themselves.
No, I'm a Democrat, brother. And you know what? I believe that we can't blame everything on the government. It is on us. We are doing these things, these horrible things. Okay, like what happened in Kansas City. I can't imagine why people don't they have a brain of their own?
No.
A conscience?
No. If you listen to this show every day, you would know the answer is no. For some of the people that call in, Javier, I'm glad that there are people like you out there. Thank you for calling into this show, my friend. And all we got to do is keep fighting the fight, brother. And I appreciate the call. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Javier.
Yeah, and
bye-bye.
To Javier's point too, I don't think I'm going to keep saying this. We can't take away some weapons from the stupid people. They already have them, and I'm not for us going into people's house and take. But we can start limiting them from the first day we can immediately, and limit that moving forward. Not eliminate it, but eliminate. Isn't that better than doing nothing?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's my point, Paul. That's my point. We need to do something. I played. You played basketball with Steve Kerr. You were a teammate of his. You know Steve Kerr very well. You know his dad died from gun violence, horrible tragedy. And I played the press conference that Steve Kerr had 2 years ago. After the Parkland shooting, I played the audio of him banging the table and how passionate and upset and angry he is. And I said that rings true today. And we need more people like Steve Kerr speaking up. Let's go back to the phone line, 702.
Greg Popovich.
Popovich is another one. I love it when he speaks up. Let's go to Paul, 702-221-7283. What's up, Paul?
Hey, man. Hey, I called in yesterday. I'm still pretty upset about this shooting thing. But, you're right about the people that are passing these laws, because the reality is a lot of these people, they are stupid. They just want to own the libs, and they don't care if children are shot because of the Second Amendment. But, the bigger issue is their lack of morality, right? So they cancel Bud Light. They cancel Mr. Potato Head. They don't like the results of an election, so they storm the Capitol, and they beat police officers, and they put up a news for Hang Mike Pence, and they sit out in front of an abortion clinic, save the babies. Where are these same people, and where is this outrage at a shooting at Uvalde and Sandy Hook and at the parade, and when George Floyd is murdered by a white police officer? Where are these exact same people that are patriots? They can't even do a push-up fighting for everybody else. Like, where? Maybe I'm missing it, Brian. Where is their outrage? They're more upset about Mr. Potato Head and Bud Light than people being murdered at schools
Well, Paul,
or
you're
grocery
right.
stores or malls and parades.
I'll give you a perfect example of what you're talking about. You'll hear so many of these Republicans talk about drag queen readings and how it's such a threat to our children. These are the same people that will never talk about gun control. Right, Paul? Right, Mo?
How many
and Paul, great name, by the way. But and this is overlooked too. At the same time, the same day that there was the unfortunate shooting in Kansas City, that was a tragedy. 3 police officers were shot in D.C. Trying to arrest somebody in a house, and they were shot with, guess what? An assault rifle. So it's just let's put a tourniquet and start slow the bleeding by making some rules that just make sense, because I agree with you, Paul. I mean, there's some stupid people out there.
And look at every other country, like Japan, Europe, Australia, and Canada. They put really strict restrictions. And tell me, Brian, how many mass shootings do those countries combined have in a year?
Oh,
maybe 3.
It's almost non-existent, and
Right.
And by the way, for anybody out there that says, we have, I say this all the time, virtually more guns in this country than any other country in the world, 140 guns per 100 people per capita, and just about more gun violence than any other country in the world. Anybody that tells you that's just a coincidence is a buffoon. I don't know what else to say.
And the last thing I'll say, and I'll let you get your next caller, is I keep hearing this stupid, ignorant comment about good guys with guns stop bad guys with guns. Where were the good guys with guns in Uvalde? They were cowards hiding in the hallway for an hour while they shot people. There was 800 police officers at the Kansas City parade,
Yeah.
and there were still 20 people that got shot.
Oh
So
yeah,
this
and
whole
by the
good
way,
guys with guns and bad guys is absolute baloney.
And by the way, and thank you for the call, Paul. I appreciate it. You're absolutely right. Million people that were at that parade, and unless they're felons or former convicted, of those million people, I would imagine most of them were allowed to carry. And we have this governor who was prancing around and running like a coward. This is the same guy, the governor of Missouri, Mike Parsons, who is a MAGA moron, who is the same guy that put into law last August a provision that would nullify federal gun laws in the state. Another MAGA moron that has blood on his hands and he doesn't care.
Yeah, and it's so you hit on. There's 800 police officers that, when the shots went out, ran to the shots and tried to got 3 of the guys. But even that, with an AR pistol, that's what came out of the one guy's sweatshirt was an AR pistol, by the way. Even that couldn't stop that tragedy. Even 800 people, cops that are probably 100 yards from there and sprinted in there, it was too late to even stop that because of that weapon.
That type of weapon, all somebody needs is 5 to 10 seconds, and the carnage that they can cause, and they did cause, is astounding, and it's horrible. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Bonnie. Bonnie is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good, Bonnie. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm living over in Cambridge, England right now, but I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia. And so I'm sure you know where that is and what we've dealt with there. And I can also tell you that over here in England, they don't have the gun problem that we have in Virginia or in the United States.
Why is that? Why is that? Tell us.
Because they're not available.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you have to belong to a hunting club to have a rifle or a shotgun or whatever. I lived in Germany for a while. It was the same way there. But the thing is that, and I mean, solutions, there's so many solutions that could help and could work, and you've both discussed these. But I think the reason they don't want to discuss solutions is these people have been itching to kill people for ages now. They've been collecting guns, and this has been ramping up for quite a while. And I think they don't want a solution. Their solution is they would just want to go ahead and kill everybody that doesn't agree with them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why we have so much gun violence in this country, but I can tell you right now, there's a lot of issues, Mo and Bonnie, there's a lot of issues in this country that need to be fixed, and I'm not blaming Republicans for every single problem in this country. That wouldn't be fair. However, when it comes to guns and gun violence, I am going to blame Republicans. Why? Because you might disagree with Democrats with some of the solutions, but at least they come up with solutions that I believe would help fix the problem. Republicans
help it.
Yeah, and most of these MAGA Republicans have literally nothing. All I've heard from the idiots like the Marco Rubios of the world and the Ted Cruzes of the world is, let's lock our doors, let's arm our kindergarten teachers, more guns make us safer. Not only is it wrong, but it's ignorant. And it is ignorant. And the reason why they say it, they know that those aren't real solutions. Say what you want about Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. I don't think they're stupid people. I think they're despicable people. But there's a difference between being despicable and being stupid. Despicable, why? Because they care more about staying in power and getting their A+ rating from the NRA than the safety of our children. I mean, that says it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and nothing's going to happen till it does happen to their children.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the problem.
You're right. And even I go to Dick Cheney, and even though this is a different subject to what you're mentioning, Dick Cheney, our former vice president, was very anti-gay, very anti-LGBT. Even Liz Cheney, they were very anti-gay. I would call it bigotry. But then they found out that Dick Cheney's daughter, Liz Cheney's sister, is gay. And then all of a sudden they changed their tune. It shouldn't take it. It shouldn't have to happen to you in order for you to change, to be on the right side of history. I'm tired of these Republicans. And you're right. It seems like it has to happen to them in order for them to actually change course and do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. Well, stay safe out there.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for all that you do.
Well, I appreciate
Take
you.
care.
That's very kind. Take care. Thank you so much. Nice people in England. That's for sure.
She's in England. She's safe. They don't have guns there. Even the cops don't have guns there. I was with the Great Britain national team, basketball team, and lived in England, for 2 months of summer and stuff. And then I worked in Canada for 2 years. Same difference. And I don't know if we can look this up or someone can look this up, but I was just, my thing is the assault rifles and the AR-15s that are out of control. And I'm just looking at this. The assault weapons were banned in 1994 under the Public Safety and Recreation's firearm use. No assault weapons were being able to be sold, and then that act ran out in 2004. And I'm wondering, between 94, 2004, and between 2004 and 2024, what those numbers are, because that's factual, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I talk about this gun-loving Missouri governor, Mike Parsons, because it rings true to a lot of these MAGA Republicans that are lawmakers, as I call them, noisemakers. People characterized it, and there's video of him running scared for his life with his wife. And you know what? Don't blame him.
No.
Don't blame him. I would have been running scared for my life as well. But again, this is the guy that put the provision in place that nullified federal gun laws. He is a gun nut. He didn't mention guns at all, but your typical middle-aged white MAGA Republican. Sorry, Mo, I know you're not a MAGA Republican. You're middle-aged and white.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But here's a guy who, again, par for the course, cares about his A-plus rating from the NRA, doesn't mention guns yesterday. But guess what the governor did mention? He did mention the fact that these people who committed these crimes yesterday are thugs. He did mention that name. Do you think he would have used that name if they were wearing Make America Great Again hats? Do you think he would have called the Texas El Paso shooter a thug? Do you think they would have been thugs if they were Trump supporters? If they were white? Do you think the governor of Missouri? This is a serious question. If these people that committed these crimes yesterday, these heinous crimes, were white people, maybe Proud Boy members, would Governor Mike Parsons call them thugs? What do you think the answer to that is, Mo?
I don't think so. And I don't even want to remember his name. The guy here in Vegas that killed 51 people. He is a middle-aged white guy, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't see where that's relevant. And
it's not.
It's just it's sad. I mean, everyone. Like I'm going to say again, we can't fix the problem, but we can actually put a tourniquet on it and slow it down by just doing the simple things, right? Instead of 18-year-old, you have to be 21. Then you have to go through some training. And I agree with you, you said it before, protect myself. And, well, you can't buy a tank. You can't buy a bazooka.
Right.
You can't buy a missile launcher. You can't buy, like you said, these weapons are made for killing quickly and not really efficiently, but just quickly, so it becomes efficient because you can just spray them. Yeah. So
well-regulated militia is not allowing these types of weapons of war sold to the public at the age of 18 with no understanding of how to hold a gun, no understanding of how to use a gun, and we need comprehensive background checks. 80% of Americans, Republican and Democrat, agree we need comprehensive background checks. Who's stopping us? The sitting Republican coward senators, 702-221-7283, and gun-loving governors like Mike Parsons, who have no moral compass. 702-221-7283, and I ask you, people that are calling in right now, if these were two Proud Boy members or three Proud Boy members wearing MAGA hats that committed these heinous crimes, would Governor Mike Parsons call them thugs? I wonder, ladies and gentlemen. I wonder. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next up on Pushing Limits. What's up, Carl?
Yeah, Brian, Paul, good afternoon. Listen, let me ask both of you, if either of you are parents or whatever, would you rather have somebody break into your school with a bunch of little kids with a knife or an AR-15? Wow. I mean, use common sense about this. I have so many people tell me, oh, well, you can always get knives. People are killed with knives all the time. Yeah, well, I lived in England where my dad lived for a while, and the police there do not carry arms. The amount of mass killings or shootings is almost negligent. If the police there do need guns, they call
from Scotland Yard. It's called the Flying Squad, which come and they are armed, but it's so rarely used, it's not needed at all. And believe me, I'd rather be attacked with somebody with a knife than an AR-15.
Yep.
And also, you're talking about people, the NRA, they love to be applauded by the NRA. Well, that's probably one of the most...
And I want to add something, Carl, and I agree with what you're saying. Mo, this is important, and this is what you were talking about, too. And I talk about this all the time. So in 94, as you know, Bill Clinton banned assault weapons. Guess what happened, Paul?
Went down.
Shootings went down.
43% they went down. And in 2004, shocker, the ban expired because Republicans allowed it to fizzle out. And guess what happened?
They doubled.
It went up 239%.
Yeah.
Is that another coincidence to these right-wingers out there? I mean, it just... Let me, Carl, I want to ask you the question I'm asking callers now, which is, if these were people wearing Make America Great Again hats that were Proud Boy members, would Governor Mike Parsons call them thugs?
Probably not. He'd say they were misguided patriots.
Yeah. You're probably right.
I like that.
You're probably right, Carl. Carl, good to hear. Yeah, go ahead.
One quick thing.
Sure.
One quick thing. The NRA people, the gun lovers really want applause from the NRA, which is probably one of the most corrupt organizations that's ever been assembled in the United States. That's why Trump loves them so much, because he likes to be associated with those type of corrupt groups. And they've stolen more money, the NRA, from all their people who contribute their funds to the NRA.
Yeah, LaPerriere or whatever the hell his name is, the bunch of criminals that run that organization. Carl,
they're all criminals.
You're absolutely right. Good point. Carl, good to hear from you, my friend. Thank you for calling in.
Same here.
Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We go to Patrick, who's next. Hello, Patrick.
Yeah, I just want to kindly correct a couple things here.
Wait, didn't you call
illegal guns?
Didn't you call in
straw
earlier?
Purchases?
Did you call in earlier?
Yeah, buddy, I'm back, man.
Okay, well, I mean, what are you doing? Why are you calling into a show twice, man? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm correcting the facts.
No. I gave you an opportunity last time. It's okay to disagree. I gave you an opportunity, and hold on, Patrick, the host is talking. Bells are ringing. The host is talking. Facts do matter. You're right, Patrick. You're the same bozo that thinks Donald Trump won the 2020 election, so spare me with your facts nonsense. I gassed you 6 times, and you failed to answer once. You're not fact-checking into this show. You're going to answer my question or goodbye. I'm now going to ask you for the 7th time. What are your solutions to the problem of gun violence in this country? I could care less about your stupid fact-checking. Save it for one of your right-wing idiots that you listen to in this town. What are your solutions? Answer my question.
You don't care about the facts on the
Answer
issue.
my question.
You don't care about the facts on the issue?
You can't spell the word fact, so spare me with your BS.
FACTS.
Answer the question. Answer the question. What are your...
more than rifles.
Do you have... I'm not interested in hearing any of your stupid opinions unless you have some solutions, even if I disagree with them. Give me some solutions.
Brian, is suicide an act of violence?
Get lost. Patrick, don't call back into the show. You're a waste of my time. You are a waste of my time, and when Hillary Clinton used the term deplorable, it was your face. She's talking about you.
What does suicides have to do with
it? Has nothing to do with
shootings. I mean, so because whatever his facts or whatever is in his head that he thinks that there's more suicide by weapon, then who cares? There's still a problem, right? There's still mass shootings. There's still a problem. Who cares if suicides are equal or lower or higher? Who cares?
But, Paul, that would be the way a reasonable, semi-intelligent person would think like you, okay? Suicides are a bad thing. Why would we want to make it easier for people to commit suicide with a gun? It doesn't make any sense. How do you reason with somebody like that? And I give people opportunities, even though I disagree with them, to come up with solutions, and they don't have anything for me. How can I have a conversation with somebody like that?
So I guess someone like that, Patrick, you're out there, that if we said, like I talked about, right, we're not going to fix this today, but we can slow it down by putting in a law that you can't buy an AR-15, even if you don't think it's an assault rifle. That's okay. It's by definition, but your definition, whatever. It kills people quickly. Instead of being 18, you have to be 21, right? And possibly just not letting people buy AR-15s or assault rifles
right.
at all. And that's the start of something to stop. It's not going to be immediate, but over the next year or two, it's going to slow these shootings down.
I'm with you 100%. As you say,
understand.
Stop the bleeding. I agree with you. Kaveh is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Kaveh.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind?
So I agree with you. Mike Parsons is a piece of dog water that needs to either disappear or do something about what happened here in Kansas City yesterday, because at this point it's ridiculous. And he was there at the scene of the crime, but yet he goes silent and does nothing about it. Again, this is what the right-wing politicians do. When something like this happens, what do? They go running with their tails between their legs because they don't want to do anything about gun reform. But yet when these things happen, they're like, oh, well, we give you our thoughts and prayers. Yeah, screw your thoughts and prayers. Honestly, screw that. You either do something or you don't. Because we're going to vote them out, and they're going to wonder why.
Where do you live in Kansas City?
I live in Roland Park.
Yeah. I was in Overland Park for a couple of years, and I'm wondering. I have friends there. I checked in on them yesterday. Are people thinking the way you're thinking now of him and the way he's acting? Is that I'm hoping that people are finally realizing that.
Oh yeah, a lot of us on Twitter have even called him out on it multiple times, and we get nothing but radio silence from him, even though he tweeted it out yesterday that Mike Parsons, the guy who was there, said that he was there, and I was like, okay, so this is on you. You need to either pass a bill now to help mitigate these things from happening, or just stop tweeting.
This hits home for you. It hits home. Well, it should hit home to all of us, especially since you live so close. But I'm glad you shared that with us, and I'm going to continue to go after this governor, Mike Parsons, who is an utter piece of, as you said, dog you-know-what. Thank you for the call. I'm up against the clock. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Stay strong, man.
Thank you for your time, my guy.
Stay strong out there.
I got a couple more minutes. I got about 45 seconds for Lori because we're up against the clock here. Lori, thanks for calling in. Go for it.
Oh, I got so much. Patrick, he quoted statistics from 20 to 21. That was a pandemic. We lost 500,000 people to the COVID. 300,000 were out of jobs. People were desperate. In Florida, it took 3 months to get on unemployment. People didn't have money. They were getting thrown out of their houses. Of course, the suicide rate just expanded like crazy.
I am so glad you brought that up, Lori, and you're so right. I didn't even think about that. But, of course, Patrick probably is either unaware or he uses a statistic to try to make his point, which is usually never a point that it makes any sense at all to begin with anyway.
Right. They throw all sorts of garbage. The first guy, ARs are classified by the manufacturer. That's the person that makes the gun, the person that puts those little parts together and says, what am I going to call this gun? Mm-hmm. The manufacturers call them assault rifles. That's why it says AR.
Exactly.
It really is. It really is mesmerizing, Lori. But you try to reason. You try to reason with some of these people. They can't, add 1 + 1. These are the people that think Donald Trump won the 2020 election. So I mean, again, how can you reason with these people? Lori, it's good to hear from you. I'm up against the clock, but I appreciate your calling in. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Well, Mo, it's sad. When you come in here every week, I'd like to talk, mix it up with you and talk some hoops and sports. And it's crazy what's going on in the world right now.
It really is. Sometimes things like this happen and it overrides any sports talk, and it's unfortunate. And, I just, thinking of my friends, stay safe in Kansas City. It's really unfortunate that the Chiefs did something phenomenal back to back. And now, I was a player and, I never won a championship, but we came close. And I'm thinking about what they're thinking about now, where they should be celebrating and all happy. And really, they're not, and they really can't be anymore. And that's pretty sad, too.
It is really, really sad, Mo. And by the way, this isn't the first time this has happened. We've had some celebratory championships in other sports where we've had shootings as well in the last several years. This isn't the first time, and sadly, it won't be the last. Mo, I do appreciate you being here as always.
I'm more than just a jock. I have ideas.
Yes, you do. You have some actually very good ideas. I would vote for you for office. I appreciate you being here. Paul McKeskey joining us in the studio. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. I want to give out my socials real quick, if I may. On YouTube, at PTL Radio Show, TikTok, Twitch, all that stuff. At PTL Radio Show. Subscribe to my YouTube page as well. And my website, which is PTL Radio. At PTLradio.com. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.